All right, 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the Monday, April 17th, 2023 Board of Education meeting to order. Ask all members present to please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I see we have a number of people here tonight. Alex Bergman, right, is here to satisfy an obligation for a merit badge. Is that correct? To see public discourse and debate. Good luck. There will be some. We're happy to have you, but good to see you here and your interest and your progress in Scouts as well. Outstanding. We had 2 items on the consent agenda this evening: the approval of the minutes from the March 20, 2023 board meeting and the statement of receipts and expenditures for March 2023. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed, and the motion passes. Action items, Superintendent Nelson.
Yes, before I get into our couple items I listed, I want to congratulate Steve Nada and Carrie Walls for their re-election to the school board. Also Bob Mallon, who's in the audience tonight, for being elected to the board and being willing to run and continue to help move our district forward. So we appreciate your willingness to do so, and congratulations to each of you. A reminder that we will have our special board meeting on May 8th. So Monday, May 8th, to elect board officers. That will be live streamed. And we had to move our meeting next week because there's 4 of us going to Iowa for a Redefining Ready conference next week. So we leave Sunday morning and come back Tuesday night. So we'll be driving to Iowa. So May 8th will be our election of our officers. But congratulations to the 3 of you for joining the board, and we appreciate your willingness to do so. And then with that, we want to thank Paul Lorgy for his 21 years of service on the school board. Bittersweet to have our final meeting tonight, but I guess we got an extra meeting out of Paul than we've ever gotten out of anyone else, because if it would have been next week, last meeting would have been his final meeting in March. But Paul has dedicated an impressive 21 years of service to our district. I want to take time to celebrate his contributions tonight. During his time on the board, Paul has seen significant changes in our educational landscape and our facilities, and was instrumental in making important decisions that have positively impacted students and staff. Paul has shown dedication, passion, and commitment to Grafton's educational system. He has worked tirelessly to ensure that students receive the best possible education, and his efforts have helped improve the district in meaningful ways. If you ever want to ask a question to someone about a topic that was discussed over the past 21 years, ask Paul. He will have a paper copy of it somewhere at home in a file, and he will be able to produce it and give you the reason or the rationale for either why a decision was made or why it was not made. He always comes well prepared to meetings. He's eager to help move the district forward with a continuous improvement mindset. His legacy will undoubtedly continue to positively impact our district long after this meeting tonight, and his contributions will be remembered for years to come. So Kara has put together a brief little slideshow that highlights some of the changes that have occurred over the last 21 years. And she gave me the clicker. You are so good, because I'm like, and she's gonna have to do it, but she doesn't, because she gave it to me. Good job. So as we think of, like, many things have changed. So we think of, we still have teachers teaching, we still have students sitting in pods, but furniture has changed. Technology has changed, as what we see. Classrooms are a little brighter than they were. We have color photos. We've had a gym change, right? We had a hard decision made of having to have GES go, but we right-sized our district. We went from a district with 2,100 students to with 5 buildings to 2,100 students in 4 buildings. So fiscally, the right decision, but having to add, so the ability to add gyms. So you see these bright elementary gyms that we have that are that is a replacement of that. We've added on to Kennedy Elementary. You can see in the top left, small Kennedy Elementary, and now the larger version of that referendum project. Technology's changed, right? We went from these big clunky computers that we had dial-up internet to now having a one-to-one initiative across the district, and students being prepared to use technology effectively. As we moved into the pandemic, The ability to already be one-to-one really helped us move immediately. I still remember having meeting with staff, and they had a day to prepare, and then we went virtual immediately after that. But staff's ability to move forward with that was helped by the school board with the funding for one-to-one technology for training. We had Canvas in place, all those things that were progressively set in place for us to be able to move our district forward. You see the old bleachers that we had at our athletic facilities and the new bleachers going in, and then the fundraising that we just completed with the stadium field and Kellner Field there, the new track that's on there. So the athletic pieces that have occurred. And then over 21 years, that's pretty good, like considering, you see presidents, and usually after 4 years, their lives have changed dramatically. So this is pretty good that Paul still looks good and is in good health, which we appreciate. So maybe a lot of things have changed, but what hasn't changed is your unwavering commitment to improvement in our school district. So the students, staff, and community members who have benefited from your leadership are very grateful. So on behalf of our entire district, Paul, we do want to say thank you for your years of service, your leadership, your friendship over the years, and just your commitment to our kids and the community. You love the district, love the community, and that comes through very clear in all the decision-making processes that you lead, whether it's meetings that can be very contentious or very positive meetings. You bring a calm demeanor to that, and we wish you well. We thank Ann for allowing you to be with us the last 21 years, and we wish you well as you move forward. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much. I'll tell you on the way out tonight, or on the way here tonight, I was talking to Ann, and she said, you have spent 50% of your adult life in this endeavor. And that is a true statement, and it's been a labor of love. And I have to thank her and my kids, Aaron, Allie, Amanda, and Ben. We didn't always agree on all of the decisions that were made and the discussions that were had, but by and large, they supported. If not, they kept quiet, and I didn't know, at least from my perspective, whether they did. Dan Schrader is a former treasurer of the board. 22 years ago, he recruited me to serve on the board. Been fortunate enough to leverage the foundation that was built from Norb Stadulska Sr. and Jim Becker and all the other board members, and all of you, the other board members here. Certainly have to thank the community for the 7 times that my vote count came out higher than, or high enough, I should say, to continue in this seat. And the kids, the last couple of years, getting to each of the buildings and seeing the kids in their element at each of the grade levels, absolutely, and I said it at one meeting, it gives me goosebumps to see the things that they are doing, and it gives me heartache to think of the things that they have to think about at times and endure. It's amazing their resilience through COVID and their ability to continue to prosper and to grow despite the challenges that they face. It just is a testament to their strength and the strength of the next group that have to, the parents of our community that continue to support the district, not always equally and not always with the same fervor, but always well-intentioned to bring about what's best for kids. The administration, Jeff, and your leadership, we're kind of like the Green Bay Packers in a way. 37 years, we've had 4 superintendents. That's remarkable if you look at some of the studies and the statistics relative to superintendents. It is absolutely remarkable that we would have only 4 superintendents in nearly 40 years. And the leadership that we have right now, Jeff, you and your team, the rest of the administrators, I can't thank you enough for all of the good work that you've done, especially during COVID, but in propelling the district forward, increasing rigor, demanding high things from our students, expecting good things from our students, and then celebrating and congratulating when those things happen. And they do happen. They happen on a regular basis. And then last but not least, the teaching staff and anyone who supports the teaching staff. Change is inevitable. Things change. You saw evidence of the change. And I remember the discussions on one-on-one computing. Can we really afford this? Should this be done? Is this the right direction? Thank God that we moved with one-on-one computing. But the one constant throughout all of that change is the teaching staff. our dedicated staff and the people that support them, that pour themselves out daily to our kids. And they do out of a labor of love. That's the constant thing. It's the thing that really orders the change in the district. And I am so thrilled and so proud and humbled to have worked alongside this staff, whether it's the teaching staff, the people that support them in the administration, and the rest of the board members sitting here today, and those that aren't here that came before me. It's just been a labor of love, and I am humbled to have served in this capacity for 21 years. I will miss it tremendously, but I can already feel a bit of weight lifting off, and I wish all of you well that will continue to carry that burden and that weight. It's something that's been entrusted to you to continue the good work of this district with the help of this wonderful staff and administration. So thank you all very much. It's been a wonderful, wonderful 21 years. I really appreciate it.
So we have two things to present to you, and then we'll move into my next thing. So one is from the Wisconsin Association of School Board. When you serve for 20 years, so current board members, just a couple more years, you too could get a plaque that looks like this, and you'll have to be here for 20 years. So when you go into year 21, they don't give you another one, and maybe if you stay for 30, they might give you a bigger one. I'm just throwing it out there. Talking about the Packers, it'd be good. You know, we want long-serving board members as well. And then from the district, we have a crystal bowl that says the Grafton School District Board of Education, Paul Lorgy, 2002 to 2023. So on behalf of our district, we have something as a token of our appreciation for the work that you've done with kids' hands on the side of the bowl to remind you of the importance of what you did for our children. So I'd like to present that to you, take a picture with you that we can put in and share with the community to thank you for your years of service. If we can do that, that'd be great. Yeah, I know. I'm not sure the background. Yeah, oh yeah, there we go. That's good, Jerry. Jerry, why don't maybe I should think about it next time and have you bring your camera. How about that?
Can you color in the hair?
And then with that, we'll move into our second part, which is the new class of the Grafton High School Athletic Hall of Fame. And Kevin Moore, who leads that for our district. I've asked him to come up and talk about the new nominees.
Well, just continuing the celebration of rich district history, we'd like to officially congratulate the 2023 Grafton High School Athletic Hall of Fame class. This is our third class so far. Our first inductee is head soccer coach Don Arnold, guided the GHS boys and girls soccer programs from 1993 to 2019. Combined 15 state appearances for coach, including a girls state championship in 1997. Jeremy Fisher, class of 1997, GHS's first wrestling state champion in 1997, and went on to a storied 4-year career at Concordia, and where he was a 2-time captain and later served as an assistant coach. And then also Dan Murray, track and field and cross country athlete, class of 2000. Dan was a 5-time individual track and field state champion. He was a member of the 2000 team track and field state champions here at Grafton. He went on to compete at the University of Wisconsin. He was an All-American and a Big Ten champion. He was also an academic All-American. The induction ceremony for our class will be held in the GHS auditorium on Saturday, May 6th at 4 o'clock. We're very excited to welcome our latest class. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jeff. On to item B, public comment. Any public comment this evening? Renee.
Hello, I'm here representing the Grafton Education Foundation tonight. Congratulations, Paul. Thank you for your 21 years of service. Such a big impact on our community, and we thank you for that. I do have a lot to report tonight, so bear with me. I know many of you were there Friday night. We're on the heels of our annual Night of Giving event, which is our major fundraiser for the year, and a lot of things happened. So I just want to fill you in on that. So let's start off with our Golden Apple Award winners, which were announced on Friday night. Now, since 2020, the GEF has recognized over 100 teacher and staff for exemplary dedication and work in preparing learners for a dynamic tomorrow. And this year we had 39 teaching and support staff nominated. Those nominations come from the community and, more importantly, from students. A lot of students like to nominate teachers that have made an impact in their lives. So I'm going to have Kara switch slides. You can see all of the people that we got nominations for our elementary schools. A lot of familiar names there. And then on the next slide, you'll see the nominees for our high school and middle school nominations. Now, there is some criteria. You have to be in the district for 5 years. If you've already won, you can be reconsidered in another 5 years. So that might be some reasoning why you'll see the final list of winners. Every year we pick 3 teaching staff and 1 support staff to get the Golden Apple Award. So this year's winners are at Grafton High School social studies teacher Zach Gajewski, and you can see one of the comments, and we like to get all our nominee comments and we put them in a nice packet and we present them to the teachers, because in addition to the $1,000 cash award, sometimes it's the comments that mean the most. So Mr. Gajewski is by far one of the greatest educators I've had the pleasure to meet. Erin Brown, 3rd grade teacher at Woodview, also a Golden Apple Award winner. One of the nominees said she believes students can do things they thought they couldn't, and only a teacher who is a master at their craft can do that. Alyssa Bloom, another winner, Grafton High School science teacher. She is 100% a positive role model. And our staff support winner this year is Jean Ebel, administrative assistant at Woodview. And we heard that she is always beyond helpful. She responds quickly and goes above and beyond in all situations. So those are our 2023 Golden Apple Award winners. We send our congratulations to all of them. They were all in attendance on Friday night, so we could thank them publicly, but we wanted to make sure that you have that information as well. And we want to thank everyone who nominated this year, and it's been a great tradition. We hope to keep that going. We were also able to announce Friday night our grant winners for 2023. Last year, we gave out $55,000 in grants. This year, we were able to up it by $10,000 for a total of $65,000 for 12 different grants. So I'll just quickly give you the highlights of that. A lot of the teachers who wrote grants were in attendance, and we were able to give them a fun check and publicly recognize them as well. Band uniforms, $8,000. Joe Brown wrote that grant for Grafton High School, and we recognize that that's a big community supportive project this year. We were happy to be able to chip in to make that happen. We also presented a grant for Grafton High School's biomedical teacher, Fran Grant, $4,500 for a knee anatomy model. Also at Grafton High School, $4,600 for Aaron Sumner for monitors for computer coding classes, so they can see the coding much clearer in class. The Grafton High School Business Department wrote a grant for their video design course, and we are funding 2 video cameras and 3 drones, $3,700 for Rusty Meyer. Also at Grafton High School, the Comms Art Department wanted microphones so they could have student-led projects like TED Talks, commercials, things like that. So $1,479 to J.D. Atkins. John Long Middle School's band director, Mr. Dimmer, wrote a grant for $3,222 for 7 new bass drums for big bass drum line and the harnesses and back braces that go along with that. Woodview, we're happy to fund in-school club equipment, $1,625 for Adon Burgos, things like comic book design, magic club, wilderness survival. We're also supporting a grant for the elementary schools to have phonics books that will help with decodable reading skills, $7,895, written by Caleb Meyer. Also more money for the Lego Leagues in our elementary schools, $4,855 for Aaron Brown. The Fab Lab at the high school is getting a new metal cutting a laser, $15,000 for Mike Dodge. New playground equipment at Woodview, $6,000, Betsy Bergman. And new kindergarten toys to promote interactive play at both elementary schools, $4,000. Also, Betsy Bergman wrote that grant. So, who wants more money? There you go. So, but actually, it's those ideas, those stories. That's why the Grafton Education Foundation does what we do. We're always looking for new members. Anyone out there, if you know someone who wants to join our team, please have them check us out. We are always looking for new people to join in on this movement. So those grants bring our total over the years since our existence to $565,000. That's about 97 grants, which means next year should be a big milestone year because it will be our 100th grant given. So we couldn't do it without your support. I know many of you helped us with time or with money. We appreciate you being there, the school board and everyone else who supports our kids in our community. We're still working on the final numbers from the night of giving, but it looks to be a very successful evening, about $45,000 raised. So we just thank you for all of your support. And we hope to keep doing good things on behalf of all of our kids in the district. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nash.
Thank you, Renee. Very, very much. That is beyond phenomenal. I know I'm supposed to be taking. Thank you. That is great. Dan Nash, 1620 North Pine Street. I'm here on behalf of the Grafton Music Theater Boosters. So our monthly update on this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're all more than welcome to join us for, I got to say this right, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoats. I heard the set is absolutely phenomenal, but the kids are even better. So come on down and see us. And remember, we're supporting the students. If that's one thing you remember for the first time I got in your faces on this, I don't care about anything else. Come, these kids, they work hard for $10 or $15 at the door. Thank you. That's all it'll cost to spend 2 hours on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to come and support these kids and all the hard work that they do. Saturday, April 29th is all-day WSMA State Solo Ensemble for our students that made it onto state. 5/3/23, and I'll make the same offer to you as you did to me when you turned around. Board member time. Time to turn around. We know everybody likes to volunteer in Grafton, so come on out. We're a fun group. We'll even have mimosas, not in the school though. On 5/4, that'll be at 6 p.m. and board positions will be determined at that time, and that will be in the band room. No, I think we're going to have it in the auditorium this time because they're not rehearsing. And then on 5/3 and 5/4, 5/4 and 5/5 are the elementary school students. Their first, third, and fifth grade is on the 4th concert for Kennedy, and Woodview is the first, third, and fifth grade music concerts. 5/10 is a night of jazz, 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. So come on over to that. I believe that is a donate kind of thing. 5/18 is the spring band concert at 7 o'clock, and 5/22 is the spring choir concert. So here again, just like yourself, my friend, congratulations. I know you've been waiting a month for me to hear what I had to say. So I do have to thank you personally. You're one of the bigger reasons why I'm standing up here. You're the first person to listen. And all of you can take a great example from Paul. Okay, he took a really awkward, really aggressive kind of guy, sat down with him, listened to what he had to say, and that's all of his ask of you guys, and that's it. And if you don't think I have any experience on what you do, from a small child at 8 years old until about 15 years old, I would always stay in Michigan with my grandparents, and my grandmother was on the school board, so I know how much your phone stopped ringing. So thank email, okay, because the phone never stopped ringing. Always trying to go ahead and make the best for the community. The tough choices that you've had to make over the years. We talk about COVID, but there were a lot of tough choices before that, and you made a really good one. So, all the things that you've done, how you've inspired me, the man that you are, and you want to know what? Your hair looks much better now, man. And this may or may not, it won't be my last school board meeting. I will still come and I will badger you all. I'm highly committed to what this program does for the kids, what it does for our community, how it challenges them. We know the statistics that come from what these kids in the music department do. We know the belonging that's there. I bring up silly little facts of all the people that I talk to in the business that I'm in and everything. And this, I mean nothing with what I'm about to say other than what happens at the end. Oak Creek School District built a brand new auditorium because one kid, I know it's not true, but this is what they say, because one kid felt the belonging that they had in there, okay? The belonging, a place for them to go, a place for them to be. We have all of our little groups. And if any of you come to school during the day, I think Scott will agree to me, all those people are down in that room. And that's where they hang out. That's where they build community. That's where they build family. I can say that for my sons themselves, it made them better musicians. It made them better on who they are in their musicality. But in my heart of hearts, it made them better people. And that is all we can ask as parents, is just to have good humans walking through this earth so the bad ones can take advantage of them. So, all right. I thank you, Paul, very, very much. Everybody have a good night. Maybe I'll be here in May. Maybe I won't. It's going to be a surprise. I got to see who the next sucker is. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dan.
I think most people in the room probably know who I am, but if not, I'm James Johnson. I'm a longtime teacher here. I actually recognized almost all the pictures that were up there, so I think I've been here a while. I'm a proud parent of 3 kids in the district, and I'm also one of the leaders of the Grafton Education Association, our teachers union. And I really just came tonight to take a moment to say thank you to Paul. I mean, certainly thank you to all of our board members and everything they do, but 21 years is special. That's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of commitment, and you deserve to be recognized for it. You deserve to be applauded for it. The differences you've made are there, and to kind of to speak to what Mr. Nash said, some of the differences are not in pictures. They're the way you interact with people, the way that you treat people. You know, we haven't always agreed on everything. We've laughed in meetings. We've been frustrated in meetings, but there was always respect, and that was never a question. You deserve a ton of credit for that. Again, there's a lot of things that could be said. I think a lot of things were said really well by Mr. Nelson, but I wanted to take the time on behalf of our Grafton Education Association, on behalf of myself as a parent, on behalf of myself as a longtime teacher, but again, really on behalf of all of our staff, to thank you for what you've done and the time you've put in. Enjoy your Monday nights.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you so much. These are just examples of parents and community groups that are engaged in bringing about better results for our kids, our students. I can't thank you all enough for the kind words for me, but for the work that you do each and every year and each and every day and each and every moment to make it better for our students. So thank you so much. On to item C, committee reports. We had a curriculum committee meeting on April 10th. Carrie?
Yes. We met on April 10th and we had 3 items to go over. 2 of which will be later items F. We went through the new ELA adoption and several options that the middle school went through to decide what would be the best new ELA curriculum. And we are making a recommendation to the full board tonight. We then went through a social studies adoption, where again, Michael and his team presented and did an amazing job with their rubrics and everything, showing us exactly all of the work that went into the recommendation that's coming to the full board tonight. We had a RISE update, learning about what all the students are doing and getting more information about where our gifted and talented students are and what they're up to. And then just a general curriculum update to prepare us for the upcoming summer and more work ahead.
Any questions for Carrie? Now that the bulk of the items on the agenda for curriculum are later in this agenda, we will move on to the personnel report.
Yes, we have a couple new hires that we would ask for the board's approval, as well as a resignation for the end of the year that we would ask for approval. For the new hires, we have Lynn Anderson, District DHH teacher, Brenna Casey, ELA teacher at John Long Middle School, Amanda Mack, Director of Pupil Services, and Allison Voss, second grade teacher at Kennedy Elementary School. We have the resignation of David Schrader, math teacher at John Long Middle School. And then informational only is the resignation of Melissa Shader, district payroll and benefits coordinator, who's going on to become a business manager at Lake Country School District. Thank you, okay, Lake Country School District. So we would ask for approval for those. And before we do, I do have Amanda Mack, who is here, and I've asked her just to give you a brief history of her educational experiences. We are excited to be having Amanda join our district. We had 18 people apply for the position. There were 8 current sitting directors that were interested in the position, and so we were very pleased to have her. We had 2 rounds of interviews, one with staff, parent representation, and then we had a second one with for administrators as the second round with 2 candidates that were moved forward. Amanda was the top coming out of the first round, and she continued to be our top candidate after our final round. So we were extremely happy to have her. She's already connected with Laura, so we'll have a smooth transition. As we announced last month with Laura retiring, it'll be a great transition for Amanda to be joining us. So I've asked her to just say a word to the board about her experiences.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm really thrilled. Team. I've enjoyed my time getting to know Jeff and everyone so far. Really excited about the work. So I grew up in a community very similar to Grafton, just outside of Wausau, Wisconsin. Went to UW Green Bay for my bachelor's in psychology, and then on to UW La Crosse for my school psychology, master's, and education specialist degree. Worked my first 7 years as a school psychologist in Milwaukee Public Schools. Really passionate about the work and serving students. Had the opportunity to kind of grow my skill set and work in the St. Francis School District as a school psychologist, and then a director of student services, and most recently spent 2 years in the school district of Waukesha. And while I can work on that large of a scale, I realized pretty quickly I miss a community such as this. I really love connecting with people. So this is kind of getting me back to my passion and purpose of doing the work for kids and connecting with people and being present in schools, similar to my role in St. Francis, and really excited about the job and excited to get to know everyone here in Grafton. So I do also have a family I'll tell you a little bit about, because of course that's everything. I grew up in a very tight-knit family, and I myself have a very tight-knit family. My husband is in education as well. He was a special ed teacher and is now a dean of students. And we have a 24-year-old son who's a director of a Boys and Girls Club, as well as 9-year-old twin daughters who are just amazing and full of energy. So really look forward to getting to know and continuing the amazing work you all are already doing. And Paul, I'm so sad that I'm coming as you're leaving, because you have a wealth of knowledge, but congratulations and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
So you get a hint of what our committee saw, and hearing people speak about her and her continuous improvement mindset, the enthusiasm she has for kids, building relationships with people, is just continuing the work that Laura has done and directors before her have done. And so we're just excited to have her join our team. So we would ask for board approval for the new hires as well as the resignation.
Say welcome, but we need to take this vote first, and then we can officially welcome. So we'll take these separately, the new hires first. Do I have a motion to approve the hires of Lynn Anderson, District DHH teacher, Brennan Casey, ELA teacher at John Long Middle School, Amanda Mack, Director of Pupil Services, and Allison Voss, 2nd grade teacher, Kennedy Elementary School?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Welcome aboard. Nice to meet you and to hear a bit of your story, and I look forward to hearing about good things to come. And now on to a motion to accept the resignation of David Schroeder, math teacher at John Long Middle School. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. All right, we'll move on to third quarter budget report.
Yes, so in your packet, we have the third quarter budget report. A couple of few items to discuss. In Fund 10, we have the debt retirement piece. We've been tracking that all year, where last year we recorded that with an end of year journal entry. This year, we're recording those van and copy lease costs in there, in there as the year goes. Then in the Fund 10 other objects piece, again, this is similar to what we looked at last year, where we had adjusting entries at the end of the year in Medicaid. Something new that has cropped up in the other objects category would be a tax chargeback. That's where the village has to rescind or refund taxes, and then they end up charging all the different municipalities that give, basically we're getting taxes for that. That will end up being, we'll be able to recoup that next year on the revenue limit. Okay, so to get that money back. They happen from time to time. Typically, you're talking $1,000, maybe $2,000. This year it was more of a $30,000. And then in the Fund 27 other category, similar to what we've been talking about throughout the course of the year, those are those adjusting entries related to Medicaid, where we put those in at the end of the year last year. So overall, not a whole lot to report on the third quarter report.
Questions for Topher? Informational only. Looks to be in line to me. Move on to textbook adoptions.
Good evening. So as Carrie had referenced, we had a really great discussion just a week ago on these two topics, but 6-8 ELA adoption has been a process that we've undergone the last 2 years. You've heard some updates along the way, but what we'd like to bring to you tonight is a recommendation for a core resource that will be our main resource for ELA for the next six or so years. So our team is always encompassing our teachers. That is the most important part of this decision. They are the ones that are teaching this resource. So for our middle school, a little bit different than our ELA adoption for elementary, our middle school team, the entire team was a part of the process. We also had Kim Yunker, our new instructional coach, as a part of that process, and our new principal, Chris Weiss, as a part of the process. Same slide that you saw in the K-5 adoption process. We used the curriculum support guide to guide our process to find great materials. We also look at our forward data, our map data, and we had an opportunity to see iReady data this fall and what that looked like with our current resource. We identified very early on last fall that we wanted a system and a resource aligned with the science of reading, thinking about how we build background knowledge and what that looks like in reading and writing, and how we connect that to social studies and science. The reading and writing connection was really important for us. We didn't want to compartmentalize this and have something different than reading and writing, so that was something we identified early on, and then we went to our resource of Ed Reports to find those resources that are aligned and usable for our staff. We first met in November of 2021, so it's been a 2-year process, labor of love, I would say, knowing that ELA is so important. Maybe the most important thing we do is reading and writing. Our team spent 25 hours individually for a total of 132 hours for this adoption process. As a part of any adoption process, we look at data, and then we also look at what we believe is essential in Grafton. Our curriculum is the standards. The resource is how we utilize tools to teach that and teach those standards. So we identified what we wanted students to be doing and we wanted our teachers to be doing, and how that will impact future data. Our ELA team also looked at the state standards. That is our curriculum, and what are the areas we might not be doing well on the forward exam, and how we can impact and change that. We established beliefs around teaching and learning, and we frame that. And if you were to walk into an ELA classroom at John Long, what would it look like? What would it sound like? And that really grounded itself in what we learned about the science of reading throughout last year's PD. Create a vision of high quality reading instruction, and that allowed us to create a rubric that we felt met the needs of Grafton and our adoption process. So as a part of that, we took our long list of 6 to 8 resources that met Ed Report guidelines, and we shortened that to 2 to 3. We then adjusted the scope and sequence, knowing that we had to make changes to how we taught ELA this year based on last year's data. We weren't going to just teach it the same way and expect different results, so we made some shifts. And then we used our tool to evaluate those resources, and our team then provided immediate feedback through the process every step along the way. So June 14th of last summer, we had narrowed our search to these two resources, Amplify CKLA and Into Literature. And in the past, we've determined that pilots are not the way that we conduct our review process. We actually go out and see these resources in action, and we talk to teachers. So we visited the New Berlin School District in October to see Amplify ELA, or Amplify CKLA, and Amplify ELA in action. And then we also saw Into Literature at the Sheboygan Leadership Academy. And then we conducted our final rubric of the Reading League rubric. We looked at composition and assessment specifically at the middle school. So after all of that work, our team felt very strongly about Into Literature as our core resource and recommend that as our main resource. Or I should say it is recommendation of the 6-8 ELA Adoption Committee that we move to Into Literature as our core resource for reading and writing beginning with the 23-24 school year. You can see how that budget breaks down. One component that we really looked heavily at was Writable and the connections that we'll talk about in a moment as we looked at our social studies adoption 6-8 as well. It's a tool that will give our students immediate feedback, and you've heard Diana before me, and you've heard me talk about grammar and usage and how we're impacting that within writing and what that looks like in ELA instruction. So we see Writable as a great resource, but it is a digital resource, and we've also talked about with our curriculum team how going back to that each year to see if it is the best tool. So the budget here includes 1 year of Writable with possible renewal of that resource in coming years. If approved tonight, we'll look to put a purchase order in this week to then secure PD, and specifically that June 12th PD day, as well as set up time for our teachers at 6-8 ELA to look at dedicated LBC dates this summer. And then thanks to the board for allowing us to continue to have PD October, November, and December to continue this work throughout the school year. So that professional development will continue throughout next year, getting into classrooms and getting our teachers into each other's classrooms to see how Into Literature is working. So I'm seeking approval to move forward with this adoption process. Questions?
Motion on the table. Entertain a motion to accept the administrative recommendation regarding the adoption of 6-8. Adoption as
Move.
any questions or discussion? I know this was covered quite extensively at the curriculum committee meeting. Much of the work and heavy lifting gets done, but hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you, and many thanks to the entire team that participated, ferreting out other resources and centering in on this one.
They'll be very excited, for sure. Our next main resource we're looking at approval for is our 6-8 social studies work. This team is a little bit smaller, but it encompasses our entire 6-8 teaching staff. Eric Jackson, Phil Trottier, and Ginger Nelson, as well as Kim Yunker and Jen Griffith was a part of this adoption process. Jen brought the perspective of digital aspects, and what we were really looking at when it came down to it was a resource that was both digital and in print. And then Chris and I were also part of that team. This process was driven by twofold. Our standards have changed from the social studies perspective in the state of Wisconsin in 2017 and into 2018. We've been using Discovery Ed for 6 years now, and that process or that renewal was coming to an end in June of 2023. So that really drove that initiative. And when I went to those teachers, they felt strongly that that resource wasn't meeting our needs and wasn't pushing on the standards that had changed in 2017. We looked at our forward data. As you recall, forward data in social studies, our test is given in 4th, 8th, and 10th grade. So we can see the continuum of how students were progressing through that assessment. But then we also looked at local comparables. What are other districts using from a social studies core resource that help meet the needs of our students? Our focus was really having a resource that wasn't just digital. Discovery Ed has met the needs of a digital resource, but hasn't given us textbook and really those print options that our team was looking for. They really wanted a resource that gave them multiple options. Our social studies team felt students being on a Chromebook, all ELA, all social studies, and all math was a concern. So that was a focus. The team started in October of 2021, like our ELA team, and is met for 44.5 hours. Back in October, we had that initial discussion of what we wanted to shift to, and that's an inquiry-based process where we're giving students the core resource or that main document that they get to review and ask questions and build upon the 2018 social studies standard from that inquiry lens. We've done a lot of PD around inquiry and asking questions and digging into data, or I should say digging into resources. We then looked at what the state of Wisconsin expects of us from an American Indian Studies Act 31 law that we have to be teaching within the social studies continuum. And then we also discussed what we'll bring in June is a K-5 resource adoption for social studies, and can we connect those and bridge those together. We discussed our current timeline and needing to make a decision for July 1st. We identified some resources which were HMH Social Studies, TCI Social Studies, and National Geographic, and we brought those teams in. We used a rubric that we felt was representative of Grafton. We didn't take just the rubric at face value. We looked at what we saw as strengths, and all of our teachers had a chance to identify what they saw as the most important part of that rubric to make our decision based on those three resources. HMH Social Studies emerged as our top candidate, which was connected to some of the things that I just talked about with the ELA adoption, that writable tool and being able to connect what you've heard our social studies and our middle school principal talk about of claim evidence reasoning. They saw writable as a way to really give students feedback in social studies and also connect it to ELA. So our students will see a similar platform in HMH if HMH is approved tonight. The other connection that HMH has made for us, knowing that we are adopting ELA, they've given us a discount. Cost was a concern originally with HMH, and we were looking closely at TCI, but the fact that we were adopting 6-8 ELA and social studies, they've given us a discount. We've also updated this to represent our continuum of world geography, ancient civilization, and U.S. history. It's a recommendation of the 6-8 Social Studies Adoption Committee that we move to HMH Social Studies as our core resource for the 6-8 Social Studies beginning with the 23-24 school year. Really similar process. If we can move forward with the purchase order, we'll secure a June 12th PD day. Our social studies team will also be a part of the ELA adoption, knowing that there's that connection of writing and reading within ELA. It will bridge the gap into our social studies adoption. Our social studies team will have LBC time this summer, and then again, October, November, and December next year. We'll do some classroom walkthroughs and peer feedback around this resource. Questions?
Need a motion to accept the administrative recommendation regarding HMH for our 6-8 social studies curriculum. Any questions or discussion? Again, thanks to those on the committee and the significant work that was done to prepare and present for the curriculum committee. No questions this evening. Motion made in second. All those in favor, motion aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have 17, is that right? Technical corrections to the Neola policies in place. Their update 32.1 that is approved by the superintendent. Everyone has a copy of the list of policies.
Yes, as per board policy, if there's just minor changes of a word or phrase, something that doesn't change the policy at all, then the board has authorized the superintendent to approve those, but allow you to make sure you're aware of them. We have some other policy pieces that we meet with policy about the share with the policy committee that we'll start looking at the policies we bring back. But this is just alerting the board per board policy that there are some technical revisions to these 17 policies.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. On to item H, approval of strategic planning framework.
Yes, so in sort of walking through the history of this in preparation for moving forward with the strategic planning process during the 17-18 school year, school board worked together to create some goals, objectives, and success indicators. And then in January of 2018, these are the 5 different areas that were identified by the board as priorities. Remember looking back to those days, we had discussions and even wordsmithed some of these pieces and had lengthy discussions about what this should look like and trying to make some priorities, came up with some indicators even below that, but it was to sort of jumpstart us as we started looking at a strategic planning process. So then we began working with Dr. Mark Hansen in the 2019-20 school year. We had a contract in place with him. He'd already met with our leadership team. And then a week before the school board was to meet with Dr. Hansen, COVID hit. And so we went from thinking of strategic planning to planning strategically, right? And we say that often, like that we didn't have a strategic plan, but we did plan strategically. And we continued moving forward with that. Moved through COVID. So then we put the pause on our strategic planning efforts. In the summer of 2022, we began working with Dr. Hansen again. And then in February of 2023, brought together approximately 50 people to create areas of focus for the district. At the March board meeting, we updated the board on these different things. So you can see 6 different areas that came out of the discussion that occurred there. There's a lot of similarity between the 5 pieces of the board identified back in 2018 and the 6 areas that the community listening session, the focus groups came up with. At that March board meeting, the board gave administration direction to narrow the focus while keeping these different areas at least as an indicator. So honoring the work of the committee of focus groups, but at the same time bringing a little bit more of a focus to that. Which brings us to a presentation we have for Vision 2030, career, college, and life ready for our students. And looking at 4 different areas of focus. So we would have student engagement and growth, exemplary culture, stakeholder engagement, and fiscal stewardship would be the 4 areas of focus, which is what we'll be looking for the board approval tonight. So the board gave us direction to say, come back and narrow this down, but keep those areas in mind. I believe that student engagement and growth, exemplary culture, stakeholder engagement, and fiscal stewardship, those 4 areas should be driving all the pieces that we have in our district. And we have an initiative or an idea, does it fit within these 4 pillars? And if it doesn't, then we shouldn't be having that discussion. It should fit within this. And so these 4 areas would be the constant themes of our strategic plan moving forward. We would have key performance indicators that would be updated annually. So in each one of these areas, we would have a key performance indicator that we look at now. So right now, what are the performance indicators we have? We have our data. We have our student achievement data and attendance. And every year, it's on our dashboard. It's on the website. The board reviews it every summer. We set new ones. This would be similar to that with key performance indicators that we would have. So some ideas or some areas that we might focus on in student engagement and growth would be obviously student achievement. One of the things that came out of the focus groups was also mental health support. So whether that's mental health support for students, mental health for staff, whatever that may be, looking at mental health support, how would we measure that? So it'd be coming up with the key performance indicator of how we're measuring that. We know how we measure student achievement because we've been doing that. How would we measure mental health support? One of the things that also came out of the focus group was soft skills. We also want our students to be, good citizens, being able to communicate with others and so forth. Think of an exemplary culture. Think of a safe learning environment. We survey that now with staff. That was one of the discussions that we had. Emotional well-being of students and staff, and that talent acquisition and retention. We watch that now. Our goal is to have over 90% retention, and we have 92% last year. So, but here's the whole idea of exemplary culture may have those different elements in there. We have stakeholder engagement. We currently do stakeholder surveys. Are there some of the discussions that we had at that focus group that you were a part of? Are there some data points that we should be digging deeper into and we should be watching and looking at? Business partnerships that we have, our post-secondary partnerships, fiscal stewardship, think of facilities use, the maintenance and planning, whether that's our CAP plan, Fund 46, and then technology acquisition and development, making sure that we are we have a plan for our technology, and then how are we training students to be using technology effectively, and within this, you want within your strategic plan these 4 pillars so that as pieces come along that you're unprepared for, whether it's COVID, whether it's ChatGPT with technology now, that you have a vision for this is how we want students to learn and be able to think. This is how we're supporting our staff to be able to do it. This is how the board is supporting us with fiscal pieces that we need in order to be able to do that. So basically we would have the key performance indicators that we'd evaluate every year based on those 4 main themes that would go forward. If the board were to approve the 4 main themes, or you have a discussion or questions on any of those pieces, whatever the final approval is from the board, we'll share that with our focus groups, people that were in those focus groups to share. We'll work as a leadership team. What are the the key performance indicators that we see going in under each one of those, make sure the focus groups, there isn't something that we missed from the discussions that we had. And then that would be something that on an annual basis, we would review those key performance indicators with the board in July as we have our annual data retreat, which would then set our goals for that following school year. So the 23-24 school year is what we'd be setting as we move forward. And so those would be the changing pieces. This would be the pieces that we're asking for board approval for our strategic plan, giving us a concrete vision of what we're looking towards for our students and staff in our community.
Questions, thoughts? Pillars or buckets or strands or elements have been narrowed. Seem to be. So can you go back to, since we all have this, can you go back to the slide from the focus group evening? So from your recollection and the points that were made relative to those 6 elements, feels like we've embodied them in these 4 pillars. Without the benefit of the focus group, the 4 pillars appeared to be in line and consistent with the 2018 pillars. So the thinking remains constant. Other thoughts? Any questions? Comments?
I think the overarching vision, those 4 pillars are great, and then the key that we could annually administration's recommendation, correct?
Yeah, correct.
That's the plan.
Yes, sir.
There. That's one thing. Trying to get the 6 down to 4 allows you to do that with just the headings that they have. That as the guys will certainly change.
Right.
But feels the value of finalizing this before taking it to the focus group versus taking these and asking if these should be the 4 pillars.
Because we didn't say with the focus groups that we were going to vote on the pieces that would go with it, and I don't want to get into what's the percentage that we need in order to move forward. I think this is a board decision. I think the board has taken input. You were all there. You heard the community groups and heard the focus that they wanted us to do. We presented that, and so I think those key performance indicators are some of those pieces we want to make sure that we're tracking. But the pillars, I think, is a board decision.
Oh, thank you. It does seem like a good distillation of conversation.
Good.
And I think it's a distillation of the conversations that were had, information that was shared in the areas of concern, and under the governance model, we are called to be aligned with all of the stakeholders, representation from staff to parents to students to community groups, and I think that distillation attain that great representation. This is the visual that you're proposing to move, or is that subject to change?
Well, I mean, obviously everything's subject to change because you're still my boss. But yeah, this is the visual we recommend with the focus. What we like about this visual is that you have that in the middle, every student, every day, and I hear staff often reference that. I think our staff lives that out on a daily basis. I think they do to the best of their ability. When parents don't think we're doing that, they reference this. And which I think is good. Like, I think even when it's in a negative setting, because it means that they believe that this should be happening. So the thing I like about this visual is it showcases those pieces, but it keeps that every student every day in the middle and keeps that front and center as we're doing the work, whether it's from a board level or a principal level or a director level or superintendent to a teacher to a secretary to a custodian to whatever we do, a coach, an advisor, whatever it may be. It keeps that as a focus.
And I think the visual is critical, and I think it's important. I was about to reach for a folder that's about that thick, that has the strategic planning initiatives that we've had for the last 20 years. At least 2, maybe 3 that we've gone out and engaged the community, and too often they get reflected in a binder that's put on a shelf. And having a visual that embodies the distillation and the alignment, I think, is critically important. And having that visual on one page and the KPIs on another page is critical to ensuring that we are living that strategic plan, and it's not just something that's put on a shelf to be dusted off every 5 to 10 years when it's time to refresh it. So it is important. Other comments? Hearing none, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the strategic planning framework as presented.
Second.
Last chance for discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you, and thank you to all of the administrative team and the community as well for their involvement in getting us to this point. That's item H. Okay. Leaves us with adjournment. Board of Education will convene into closed session to consider 1, final notice of non-renewal of teaching contracts, 2, teacher contracts and employee compensation, and 3, performance-related data of the superintendent. This is in accordance with Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85, Section 1, subsection C. Do I have such a motion? Second. Voice vote. Blair, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. And before we go into close, I'd just like to say thanks again for all the kind words this evening. It has been an honor and a blessing to serve in this capacity. And I wish all of you sitting around this table, all of you sitting out in those tables, all of those out there, nothing but the best and continued success as the district is propelled forward. You're enclosed. Thank you.
Very nice. Do you remember Terry's agenda went to